Oh, hi, ladies and gentlemen. Today's episode is brought to you by sunsetlakesabade.com. Use the code LEFTISBEST. You will get 20% off of all of their products. They have tinctures. They have tinctures to help you sleep. They have tinctures to help you relax. My son got banged in his nose yesterday trying to build something. I don't know why Emma just laughed at that.
I'm sorry.
But that's okay. I mean, I'm sure it doesn't bother him.
Was he in a fight?
No, he was putting something together and it snapped and hit him in the face.
Okay.
And we
It was
had
just the phrasing that I didn't understand.
some Sebade and arnica to put on it, which helps soften the blow a little bit. They've got lotions with Sebade. They've got salves with Sebade. They've got smokables, keef, pre-rolled, flour that you can mix with other stuff or smoke on its own to relax. They've got gummies with some THC, a little bit of THC. They've got lifted teas with some THC and some Sebade. They've got coffee and chocolate with Sebade. Check it out. All of these products are grown on their farm and shipped directly to you. There's no middleman. There's no middle woman, no middle person, none of that. It comes directly from the farmers, and the farmers, they don't use pesticides. They practice integrated pest management, and they take care of their soil by using regenerative farming practices that they developed with the University of Vermont. That's right. Get your Vermont direct from the farm get your Sebade direct from the farm in Vermont, I should say. Also, these guys are movement partners. They've donated tens of thousands of dollars to things like strike relief funds and Planned Parenthood and carceral reform and refugee resettlement. The list goes on and on and on. Great company, great product, and a great deal. Left is best, 20% off. They've got tinctures for your dogs and your cats. Little Sebade tinctures. 20% off. sunsetlakesabade.com. Code is left is best. Check it out. And now time for the show.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder, where every day's Casual Friday. That means Monday is Casual Monday, Tuesday, Casual Tuesday, Wednesday, Casual Hump Day, Thursday, Casual Thurs, that's what we call it, and Friday, Casual Shabbat. The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
It is Friday, April 3rd, 2026. My name is Sam Seder. This is the 5-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. On the program today, Heather Digby Parton to look back on this week that was, and the week, and to look forward on the week that will be. Meanwhile, yesterday, Pam Bondi out from the DOJ. Bye, Pam. And back in, well, Trump's longtime defense attorney is now the acting head of the Department of Justice. The U.S. begins its war crime assault on Iran's infrastructure. Meanwhile, U.S. intelligence says Iran has plenty of missile launchers and drone capacity, contradicting the President of the United States. And Iran says it's now going to toll the Hormuz Straits traffic even in peacetime. Meanwhile, Pete Hegseth fires Army Chief of Staff because he wouldn't take some black women off of the promotions list.
Jesus.
U.S. fighter jet downed in Iran. Trump wants $1.5 trillion for defense in 2027, and then to pay for it, a 10% cut in all other government services. Speaking of government services, the Senate passes Department of Homeland Security funding without ICE again. And the House decides we're going to stay on vacation. Lawsuit filed challenging ICE's ability to enter homes and arrest without a judicial warrant. And Trump's DOJ does us all the favor of deciding the Presidential Records Act is unconstitutional, so it doesn't matter that he had that stuff in his toilet. FBI declares China hacked U.S. law enforcement and FBI surveillance systems. I wouldn't worry about it. Economy adds 178,000 jobs. However, job losses in February were revised downward to 133,000 jobs lost in February. And this month, more people seem to be leaving the workforce. All this and more on today's Majority Report. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for joining us. It is
Casual Friday.
Casual Friday, indeed. I have to say, I thought we would be at war by now. There is no the stock market's closed today, which meant that I didn't have to wake up super early and follow the Nikkei.
Like you always do.
I don't know if the Nikkei is actually closed. It probably isn't. I have no idea. But the point being that it's a long weekend, and if Trump wanted to do something that was going to tank the markets, you'd expect him to do it any moment. It's unclear. I don't even know if they have a plan, really. Right? I mean, I think it's probably, they think they're just going to keep bombing crucial infrastructure in Iran. As he said the other night, bomb it back to the Stone Age and hope that that in some way encourages Iran to say, oh, we will give up any type of leverage we have over the Strait of Hormuz.
I mean, this is why this is so dangerous. It's because Iran has no choice but to escalate because they can't trust the Americans in negotiations. They have to make the West feel pain. And Trump, in his psyche, feels he has no choice but to escalate because he's obsessed with the idea of having some sort of rhetorical win at the very least. So that's part of why this is, what we were so fearful of because of all of those incentives on both sides.
And we'll probably talk about this with Digby, and you may have mentioned this yesterday, but we bombed one of the key moderate negotiators that we have negotiated with, who was instrumental, I guess, in the JPCOA. And Digby will remember this, and we'll talk about it with Digby, but in the wake of 9/11, Iran offered the United States a huge grand bargain at that time. And one of the negotiators who had offered this through intermediaries in Switzerland was this guy that we just targeted. Maybe it was Israel targeted and killed his wife and injured him. We'll talk about that with Digby because I'm quite sure she'll remember this. This is something that we were talking about in the wake of, our invasion of Iraq and the talk that Iran was now part of the axis of evil back in the day. But before we get into all that stuff, I want to just do something that talk about what's going on in New York City. And we should be clear. The dynamic in New York now is what happens in New York is not going to stay in New York. And New York, because of Mamdani's win, because of the way he won, because of his agenda to provide good governance and to expand essentially what government does for its citizens, this is going to be the model that is judged as Democrats move forward, for better or for worse. And so his success is very much tied into the willingness or the impetus for Democrats across the country to start leading and governing in this way. And when Mamdani got into office, it was quite clear that there was a massive multi-billion-dollar deficit. Now, cities are not, and cities and states, I should say, are not like the federal government. They cannot print their own money. And so budgets and balancing budgets is hugely important. And Mamdani has a very ambitious program. And of course, if you have a deficit, you are constrained by that. And I think that's what's going on here in many respects. Mamdani wants to tax wealthy people in the city more than they are being taxed now. Not like huge amounts. We're talking a couple of percentage points after like, $1 million. And also a lot of money leaves New York City for taxes to the state. And Mamdani wants at least some acknowledgement that that's happening. So there's some reciprocity. Here is Mamdani yesterday, I think it was. The budget fight is taking place now, and various, both on a state level and a municipal level, are coming out with their various politicians coming out with their proposed budget. And here's Mamdani reacting to the New York City Council budget proposal. And he's specifically addressing the proposal put out by the council speaker. Her name is Julie Menon. Mm-hmm. And, well, let's listen to Mamdani first, and then we could talk a little bit about Julie Menon, at least to the extent that we know, there's some interesting disclosure rules in New York City that may provide shed some light on this dynamic. Here's Mamdani.
Back in January, we explained how the budget process worked. Well, my friends, we're in the middle of it now. Council Speaker Julie Menon just released her budget proposal. Her plan claims to close the city's $5.4 billion fiscal gap without taxing the rich or cutting services. The problem is, that's not what it would do. If her proposal was adopted, it would result in slashing billions of dollars from agency budgets, and working New Yorkers would pay the price. It double counts savings, overestimates revenues, exaggerates savings on interest payments. And in the midst of this historic budget deficit, the Speaker's $6 billion proposal asks Albany for just one thing: more time to reduce class sizes. My position? Tax the rich. Make sure the wealthiest New Yorkers and most profitable corporations pay their fair share. End the drain. For a long time, the state has taken more from the city than the city's received in return. And I'm working with Albany to change that. Without it, our deficit won't disappear. It will repeat, year after year, asking future generations to shoulder the burden. We will solve this budget crisis, but I'm not going to let it come at your expense.
So he is talking about this Julie Menon introduced budget. And the big issue, of course, is she does not want to tax wealthy people. And
meaning herself.
Well, I mean, here's the thing.
Full disclosure.
But not.
Somewhat disclosure. Pop up this thing. Do you have the
tear sheet? Yeah. So great reporting here by The Lever, because and Luke Goldstein, Veronica Riccobene, I don't think this was in her disclosure. I think that's part of the issue, right?
Well, you
Sam?
don't have to. Exactly. When you are a New York City elected official, you only disclose what your personal wealth is. There are rules allowing spouses' assets to remain confidential, even though that they are disclosed privately to the city's conflict of interest board. So the conflict of interest board can't really tell us what's in there, but they know, so that there isn't a conflict of interest. Now, of course, you could argue, well, it's sort of a conflict of interest if you're super wealthy and this
is about taxing the rich,
taxing the super wealthy. But be that as it may, The letter reports that Menon listed under $500,000 in assets, which
There it is. Yeah.
we don't know how under it is. 500,000 is quite a bit of assets. I mean, although I guess there are some people who theoretically you could have an apartment that you bought 30 years ago in New York and have more or less paid off your mortgage, and the value of that apartment but that would be more than 500,000, I would imagine, in these days. But be that as it may, however, her family holdings may be worth tens of millions of dollars, including a $22 million Hamptons home.
Woo.
And there's also luxury New York
Look at
City
that lawn, holy
properties
smokes.
and access to private jets.
She lives in Luke says, a $7 million condo. Her spouse is a real estate executive at a firm worth $14 billion, and the firm has 2 private jets. None of this appears in her disclosure. So perhaps it's unfair to say that she would be impacted by the millionaire tax. It's just her husband.
Yeah.
Just her husband.
But $22 million. I honestly am just
I kind of want to know what the house
obsessed with
looks
the
like.
idea. I want to see what that. I don't think I've ever been in a $22 million house.
But she says she doesn't want to do cuts. She just wants to do savings.
Just savings, not cuts.
Yeah.
Oh, well, in that case.
There's all a little wasteful stuff. Don't look at that Hamptons mansion. There's all this wasteful stuff in government.
How psychopathic do you have to be when you have this amount of money to oppose this moderate tax increase? It is just, I mean, it's why they can't be given this amount of political power and also financial power as wealth consolidates, is because like the nature of the ultra wealthy like this is to hoard.
And then conspire against everybody you're hoarding against.
Exactly. They have to be broken, and there can't be any shortcuts.
I mean, this is also probably this is what she is elected to do. I don't know where she comes from, but my guess would be the Upper East Side. I don't know. Can you double check that?
Could be the Upper West Side too.
It says, luxury condos on the Upper East Side listed as their residence.
Upper
okay.
East.
There you go. So that explains it. But this is like all her friends and all the people who elected her. And I suspect there was a significant amount of money spent in her campaign, is to do this, is to continue to keep New York City as a playground for people who have $22 million houses in the Hamptons. I mean,
yeah, I don't even leave Brooklyn. Take a limo to the Hamptons. Yeah, let's cater our city towards people like that.
Yeah.
And shame on all the other
would
city
bet
council
that they
members.
take a helicopter.
Right, exactly. Sorry, I don't. My imagination.
Although they probably also don't have to worry about I had to wait until Friday at 5 when I got off my job at the Gap to drive out there, and the traffic was just crazy.
Right.
That's the one downside about my $22 million house out there is my 9 to 5.
Oh, it's such a pain in the ass.
There's-
My mansion.
There's a lot of city council members. Well, maybe not a lot, but there's plenty, including another one from the Upper East Side, that are taking this fiction of, no, Zohran, you don't understand the math we're doing. We don't want to cut anything. We don't need to raise taxes. We should be smarter about savings and how to make government more efficient. It's important to put the spotlight on those people, because I don't know if they're all as rich as Julie Menon, but they're all gross to me.
And the Upper East Side, not shockingly, was where Cuomo, I think where he did best, or at the very least one of his best neighborhoods. So.
We should you should be calling, if you're in New York State, calling Hochul's office, the governor's office, and calling the speaker of the city council's office, because she speaks for the entire city council, which represents the entire city.
Yep.
And
3 words: tax the rich.
Yeah. You don't need much more than that.
By the way, her savings where she wants to save has nothing is not geared towards the city council at all, because she's proposed increased travel, tripled furniture spend, more office equipment, $12 million increase in its council budget, $1.3 million in consultants, $250K for a new team, an $86,000 a year animal welfare staffer. Savings.
It's amazing.
But if they do pass that animal,
I'm
welfare
sorry.
trainer, I want
I'm
that
so
job.
distracted by the concept of a $22 million Hamptons house. Like, how is there other houses? Like, how big of a house is this?
I mean,
We have to raise taxes everywhere in this country. It's obscene.
I'm looking at most expensive Hamptons home between 250 million and 425 million. So this is basically a dirt shack.
Slums.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
God,
Now,
it's disgusting.
excuse me. I
Yeah.
revise everything I said. We really do need to cut savings here. We can't possibly tax. She's not going to ever. I mean, can you imagine how frustrating that must be for her? That she's never going to be living in a $500 million home.
She's
or
getting choked out of her
250
neighborhood.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
The gentrification. of the
Gentrification. Fractal gentrification. All right. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to be talking to Heather Digby Parton, contributing writer, salon, proprietor of the blog Hullabaloo. Just a reminder, a couple of housekeeping notes. First off, you can become a member at jointhemajorityreport.com. If you become a member of today, by today, you will be on the list for the first come, first serve free books that we're going to be sending a link out to for Molly Crabapple's book, Where We Live, Where We Are is Where We Live. But also, if you're someone who has money is not an issue, like if Julie Menon, if you're listening, I suspect you may not be as interested in this book as some of our other listeners, but I would encourage you to purchase the book. And you can go to, we will put a link where you can have a choice to purchase it from a couple of different places. I had mentioned Powell's the other day, and somebody had said to me that apparently there had been a labor dispute with Powell's at one point, and now there's a link where you can actually buy the book through a place that will credit the union or give the union an affiliate link so that it actually helps fund the union. We'll try and find that stuff and put it in the blog. I got to try and see if I can find that now. Oh yeah, here it is. Sorry about that. It is bookshop.org. And if you go to bookshop.org/ILWU Local 5, ILWU Local 5, you can 10% of every sale through their bookshop affiliate page will go to the ILWU Local 5 Strike Fund. So that's worth checking out as well. Also, don't forget our Discord, majoritydiscord.com. Well over 15,000 now. Closing in on 20,000 people. Go there. Great place to chat. If you're looking to organize somewhere, if you're looking for help, you're running for office, you know somebody who is, and you're looking for volunteers. We got people all over the country and really, frankly, the world in that Discord. And lastly, amquickie.com. Check out our amquickie.com. 3 days a week, you get emails in your inbox for free. 5 days a week costs you a couple of bucks. Corey Pine, Whitney Winmish, are great writers. Every day, 9 a.m., give you the news of the day. And of course, if you're on Twitch, donate your subscription to us. If you're on YouTube, give us a like. Give us a good rating in iTunes or whatever your podcast app is. All right, quick break. Heather Parton will be joining us. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the throwback tunes to mark
For your throwback guest, yeah.
Well, the thing is, Heather, here's
How
the thing.
dare you?
What is old is new again. Because
guess
here
so.
we are on the brink of another quagmire.
Yep.
And, you know, I mentioned that there's a lot of things I want to talk to you. I got a whole list, obviously, you know, Pam Bondi's gone. This war in Iran, Trump now asking for $1.5 trillion in defense spending annually. The DHS, longest partial shutdown in the history of the country, and the Republicans seem to be completely at each other's jugulars. And then you wrote a piece about Viktor Orban in Hungary, and all this week we were like, wait a second, why are all these right-wingers coming back from Hungary to visit Viktor Orban? Dave Rubin, who are the others?
Rob Schneider.
Rob Schneider is
I
just
think
come
Chris
back from
Ruffo's
Hungary.
been there.
And now it's announced that JD Vance is going to go and stump
Yeah.
for Orban.
He's going on the trail with Orban. Yeah.
I want to get to that, but let's start with Iran. And just before the break, I had mentioned this in 2003, and I'm sure you remember at least some of it, through a Swiss ambassador. This is in the wake of 9/11. Iran was very, very helpful. They were natural enemies with Al Qaeda. They were very, very helpful. There was candlelit vigils. The Iranian people were very supportive. And through a Swiss representative, they offered a comprehensive, it was like a grand bargain, comprehensive peace deal, which was limits on its nuclear program, cooperation against Al Qaeda, help with stabilizing Iraq. This was, in the run up to the war. They were willingness to accept a two-state solution for Israel. They were willing to sign on to the Arab League's Beirut peace plan. And what they wanted was essentially sanctions relief and security guarantees and normalization. And apparently, Larry Wilkerson, you remember him, he was Colin Powell's right-hand man, sort of did a big Reformation tour in the wake of the Bush years to make, to protect Powell's reputation and probably his own. Wrote extensively about this because he and Powell wanted to do this. And of course, Cheney and Rumsfeld said, we're not doing that because the neocons had very grander plans. And apparently the guy who Kamal Karazi was the diplomat who led that initiative on the Iranian side. He is the guy who just 2 days ago was targeted by either Israel or us. We killed his wife, and I think his son, and injured him. He was the former Iranian foreign minister, to make sure that he was not in a position to negotiate any type of peace. I mean, this is, it is psycho stuff. It's not, Bush and Cheney and et al., they had done very similar stuff, obviously walking away from a deal like this because they wanted to have this war at one point. But here we are again.
Absolutely. I mean, this is, I wake up every morning feeling like I'm, in another moment of deja vu. I mean, it's a different, after 9/11, look, there was nothing, I knew the minute that 9/11 happened, that there was going to be a war and that the United States was going to lash out and they were going to, it was just, and it was not an unnatural reaction to what had happened. I think the Iraq part of it was what really, galvanized the anti-war, people in the country and around the world, because that was completely ridiculous. But we knew there would be some kind of response to 9/11. So this time, of course, there's nothing, literally nothing that precipitated this particular thing other than Israel deciding that they wanted to, wield the final blow and continue their rampage through the Middle East. Now they're doing to Lebanon what they did to Gaza earlier. So we decide, I guess, Trump, emerging from his triumph in Venezuela, figured that he was now king of the world and could do anything he wanted. So it is slightly different. But the fact is that when the United States government wants a war, which they wanted in 2002 and 2003, and which apparently Donald Trump wanted now, they just do it. And the people who were there to trying to do any kind of peace agreement, doing any kind of mediation, they just, they're either eliminated or they are marginalized or they are somehow taken out of the picture, despite all the paeans to, oh, we're peace, we want peace. I mean, Trump, doing his Nobel Peace Prize tour. So, this is not a new thing. This is sort of what we've become, I think, in the 21st century. I think it's pretty much definitional that we've been, hurtling toward rogue superpower status for some time, and here we are. And this particular one is just, I mean, it's so chaotic, so irrational, so completely, incoherent, that it's even more terrifying. I mean, not that, the Iraq War and post 9/11 America wasn't terrifying, but this is something else again, because it's just done, it's so incredibly out of, completely without any form of strategy. I mean, the neocons, they were terrible, and they had a completely ridiculous, naive idea about we're going to spread democracy at the end of a gun. But there was at least some kind of thing you could argue against. This is making it just, what do you just say? Is that it's completely out of control. So, again, I just feel like the 21st century so far has just been one thing after another, all stemming from this same concept of America completely losing its bearings. And, now I think we're at the end, we're coming to the end of that particular, trajectory that we've been on for the last 26 years. And this is a very, very dangerous moment. Very dangerous.
I mean, the assassination of the more peace-prone negotiators is a tactic that the Israelis have consistently used. So we talk about, like, what is happening in Lebanon, or just Trump, or that they've seized just a ton of territory and have said, okay, if you're south of the Litani, you have to evacuate for a small period of time, but don't worry, you'll be able to come back. When has Israel claimed that before and never, and obviously reneged on that? It's an ethnic cleansing campaign. But in terms of like the U.S. tactics of in wartime, Trump is bragging about bombing civilian infrastructure.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm still I don't think that we should take these psychotic Christian nationalists at their word when they say they didn't mean to double tap the girls' school when it was available on Google Maps to say that this was a girls' school at this point. And Iran is now saying, oh, hey, you're going to target our civilian infrastructure. They're now threatening U.S. tech companies in the region in response to this, and saying that they're going to bomb them there. Because all Iran can do is escalate. This is part of what is so scary about this moment.
Yeah.
They can't trust the Americans in negotiations because of these horrifically these horrific tactics, and because in negotiations they've used that to lull them into a false sense of security and bomb them before. So what else is Iran going to do but escalate? And Trump is going to be roped into that because he doesn't want to look like he's losing. So this is where this is even scarier than I think people are grappling with right now.
I mean, I would add, the only thing I would add is that I think what this, we've said, like, he's high on his own supply after Venezuela and he's being lobbied, but I really don't think we understand. I don't know if we'll ever know, but it's interesting that we have yet to see, and I imagine we'll see this, I don't know, it'll be 3 years or 5 years or 10 years down the road. We will start to read about how people around him were like, why is he doing this?
Yeah.
And because it doesn't make any sense unless, I mean, to me, the only way to make sense of it, because he had promised, Miriam Adelson that he would be okay with annexing the West Bank, and certainly they've gone forward with that project.
Absolutely.
But attacking Iran, I don't think anybody paid for, at least that we saw in, prior to the election. And I can't help but think that there is some he is making money off of this in some way. It may be the Saudis. There's certain Saudis right now are hurting, but it might be one of those short-term pain for long-term gain. When oil is at $120 a barrel, Saudi Arabia is still selling some oil, and it becomes economically sensible to start building pipelines.
Well, we're starting to hear that, aren't we? We're starting to hear this pipeline thing, which that came as a bit of a surprise to me. I'm thinking, really? Okay. Well, that kind of makes sense. And the crisis around the Strait of Hormuz and all that kind of does lend itself to an idea that maybe this is part of the calculation. And we have heard that MBS has been talking to, has been pushing Trump to continue the war with Iran. And they've got, all the local American, hawks are in his ear as well, pushing that. And I would not be surprised at all. I mean, just look at the relationship between the Trump family and the Saudis and Qatar and UAE. I mean, this is heavy. Yes, billions invested.
Personally.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. We may never know. It doesn't really, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I mean, there's probably, a half a dozen reasons why we're going in, and certainly half a dozen different parties who are pushing for it. We know the Israelis are, this has been a lifelong dream for Netanyahu, and he's been pushing for it as well. And I imagine it's a combination of like, some people are incentivizing Trump to do this, and others are saying it's going great. Don't worry, we'll be able to do this, and understand that once you get past a certain point, the rate of acceleration in terms of like falling into this war increases.
But also just look at who is on the outs with Trump now, and I think it says everything. Like Tulsi Gabbard is rumored to be the next person he's getting rid of all the women. Kristi Noem, these bitches, Pam Bondi, now Tulsi.
Laura has a list that she wants me to get rid of, and they just happen to be women.
But I
they're all skanks.
I think that Hegseth he's proving a loyal soldier for Trump's aims. I think that Marco Rubio is as hawkish as it gets, and these are the people that he's listening to right now. And he's tweeting out, tune into Mark Levin tonight. He's listening to like Mark Levin. I mean, who is as Zionist hawkish as it gets. So he's tired of hearing from like on Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson criticizing this war stuff. He's into boomer Fox News traditional neocon territory. That's where he's at right now, and that's where he always was going to end up if you had two brain cells to rub together.
Of course, it's one of the most annoying things about this. I mean, I'm trying very hard not to get too heavily into the I told you so's, but for the people who on the MAGA side who were, well, he's not going to do any forever wars. I'm just going, have you met Donald Trump? Do you have any sense of what, human psychology is? This man is a narcissistic megalomaniac who, of course, given the chance, is going to take military action when it is, when he gets the chance to do it and thinks that there's no ramifications. He's not running again. And I think that right now, he's been saying some things kind of getting, sort of recognizing that fact. Now, maybe he'll change his mind. But for the moment, he's kind of said a few things like, well, there's the rules, and I'm sorry, it's bad rule, but it is. And I think this is legacy building for him. This is where he is now. And I think being a great conqueror has been, implanted in his mind as being a big part of his legacy now. And so, it doesn't really take much to get this guy on. And all these people who thought that he was some kind of a peacenik, it's taking everything in me not to throw this back in their face as, the Tucker Carlsons and Megyn Kelly's go, what? What war? We didn't sign on for that. I'm going, give me a break.
And here is a clip. Get 13 ready, please. This is a clip or a mashup of, as the kids say, of Donald Trump on the campaign trail when he absolutely promised that, what government can do. And now it just turns out like, oh my God, we ran out of money because we got to do the war thing.
Yeah, I know.
If you win in November, can you commit to prioritizing legislation to make childcare affordable? And if so, what specific piece of legislation will you advance?
Well, I would do that. Childcare is childcare. There's something, you have to have it. In this country, you have to have it. We're going to make this into an incredible country that can afford to take care of its people, and then we'll worry about the rest of the world. Let's help other people. But we're going to take care of our country first. This is about America first. We can't take care of daycare. We're a big country. We have 50 states. We have all these other people. We're fighting wars. We can't take care of daycare. You got to let a state take care of daycare, and they should pay for it too. They should pay. They have to raise their taxes, but they should pay for it. And we could lower our taxes a little bit to them to make up for, but it's not possible for us to take care of daycare. Medicaid, Medicare, all these individual things, they can do it on a state basis. You can't do it on a federal. We have to take care of one thing, military protection. We have to guard the country.
So
What?
we're spending $11 billion a day in Iran. And I said this point on CNN last week, when you look at Bernie Sanders' College for All plan from a few years ago, it's around $50 billion a year, but say adjusted for inflation and it's 60, say it's 70. We could pay for college for all for people in a week in what we're spending in this war in Iran. And many of the people, the young men and women that will die over there, joined the military for the GI Bill so they could get a college education. I think that says everything about our priorities. And this might be Trump's greatest scam. Like how he flipped there. The fact that he tricked people into thinking this is maybe his greatest scam of all time.
Well, it may be. I don't even know if it's, I don't even know if it's his scam. I mean, I don't know if he knows what he's saying when he says things
Well,
like
to
this.
be
But it
fair, I thought
exposes-
there was a lobby for childcare that would pay me more money. And it turns out the guys with the weapons did. That's all.
Yeah.
It's even Steven.
Hey, yeah.
Fair.
I mean, I think it's really brilliant though that he gave that comment that you just played that he made about the daycare and what have you. I mean, it just happened a couple nights ago, right? I mean, he was at some at an Easter event of some sort. And, so he said this, and I mean, he just said it out loud. He said out, I mean, this is Russell Vote. This is their whole Project 2025. It's the Heritage Foundation. This is what they've been saying.
They leaked that video by mistake too.
They did, and they pulled it back.
And then they pulled it back, but
they didn't want that out there.
Nope.
I mean, well, you can imagine what the Republican candidates and the Republican, House members and senators thought when they heard that. I mean, it's like, oh my God. I mean, that is going to be in every Democratic ad, because he just said the quiet part out loud. He just said it, and he said we can't afford to pay for daycare, Medicaid, and Medicare. Fox News brain rot, people. I mean, did you hear what he said there? And that the states can pay for it and raise their taxes because we can't afford it because we have wars, and our only priority is, military protection. And I'm sure he would add in immigration enforcement to that too, because you don't have a country. If you don't have borders, you don't have a real country anymore. Remember, he said that a million times. So this is what we're dealing with. I mean, when I first heard it, I'm going, well, when you have Donald Trump as president, you don't have a country anymore, because what he's essentially saying there is that the United States is merely an army and a police force, and everything else that the United States stands for as a country is just a bunch of collection of states that can do whatever they want. And, by the way, if you want to move to a new state, well, guess what? You're moving to a completely different country, essentially. He wants to turn the United States into the European Union with an army. with one big army. This is not the United States. It's not a country. He's not talking about a country anymore. And I heard that, and I'm just going, this is, to me, this is a bit of a watershed. Now, I don't want to say, it's a turning point. We all say that every time he says something like that. But I think this war, this is big. I mean, I think it's a big, big moment for the American people. I think if you look at the polling, you look at how people are receiving this, I think that maybe the veil is falling on it. It seems to be a little bit in the media, which, in the mainstream media, that they're seeing here what we're dealing with, which is this is a catastrophic decision that he made that is changing everything within the country and outside the country. The rest of the world yesterday came together as an alliance to talk about opening the Strait of Hormuz without the United States of America, because we have screwed it up and we can't be depended on. And they are getting together as a huge alliance. I mean, it's a big, was it 30 countries they pulled together on that virtual summit yesterday? That's a big deal. That's something I don't think we've ever seen that before. It's since World War II.
Trying to bring the world together.
All right, against us.
But I don't want to address that we're cooked. I just want to get back to that one quote that he said about, first of all, we can't do, a country can't do Medicare or Medicaid.
Right. What
the country has been doing Medicare. We block grant Medicaid, which is a huge
It's the
mistake.
only way you can do it. You can't do it any other way. What's he talking about?
And then the idea, I like that he also said, and they can lower their taxes, or they got to raise their taxes, these states, and
we
we'll
can
give
lower
them
ours.
The irony is the first Trump tax bill back in 2017 or whatever it was got rid of the deductions for high tax states. That's what the whole SALT debate was about. Literally doing his only thing that he has done is the exact opposite of what he was. I mean, so the point is, he's a liar. He's completely disingenuous. He doesn't want there to be Medicare.
Delusional.
He doesn't want there to be Medicaid. He doesn't want there to be any of these programs. States can do it if they do. If they don't, we're not going to do that. All our job is to do the military. And I think you're right. I think we could do an entirely different episode on just how cooked we are as a country.
Yeah.
And frankly, I don't know, in the grand scheme of things, if you start getting up to looking at, just outside the atmosphere, and you look down, you go, maybe at the end of for the entire globe, it may be, we may be better off if the United States has a far, far less resources.
No doubt about it. And whatever the agreement was in the past, it's gone.
It's gone.
Yeah, it's gone.
And China, I mean, just I just saw a thing.
Well, they're not stupid, at least.
China forced its refineries, its refining sector, to maintain 2025 levels, despite the fact that they would cut back in this instance. And it's basically just, that's the way their economy runs. It's like, when society needs something, this is our government's in charge of doing that. And they're just sort of completely outmaneuvering us at this point. It's a joke. But I also get the sense that Trump has given up. He knows he's going to lose the House.
Yeah, of course.
He's starting to wonder if he's going to lose the Senate. All of their efforts are going to be at somehow stopping the election from actually taking place in the way that we anticipate. He's putting his defense attorney in as acting DOJ, which he will have for at least 210 days, I guess. He'll have him in there, which doesn't seem long enough to me, unless he's like, I don't need this guy to defend me. He'll go into the private sector and defend me against the impeachment. I need him here to make sure that whatever we do over the next 200 days, which will take us past the election, will, keep me in power. I think, and I think he realized, I think he realized, at least to some extent, the Iran thing can't be helping him in any way. He must be aware of that. That's why I think he's getting paid off in some other fashion, because it just doesn't make any sense. He's the type of guy in the past who's done or said anything to save his own hide, and he doesn't seem to be doing that right now, unless he's getting his hide tanned from somewhere else. I don't know how else to say that.
Well, I think that's a big part of it. I mean, I do think that, he's setting himself up. They've already made billions. They're going to continue to make billions. God only knows what deals are being struck that we will hear about later down the road that we don't even know about yet. So he's setting up the family, I think, for massive, corruption and graft. And it's obvious, right? I mean, we know that. But I also think that, I mean, this has just been my theory for the last, and my theory is still, I think, correct, but it's starting to get shaky from his perspective because he's been building his legacy. I mentioned this earlier. This is about the ballroom and the Arc of Triumph and all, getting the Nobel Peace Prize and all this other garbage that he's been doing for the last year. That this is his thing now. You know, I'm the greatest president the United States has ever had. He knows he isn't. He knows he's just a fluke. That this, you know, that he's actually hated by vast numbers of people. But on some level, he thinks I'll build enough statues and build enough buildings and build a tall enough ballroom and do whatever, that I'll be remembered as the greatest president the world has ever seen, perhaps the greatest leader the world has ever seen. I mean, he's a true megalomaniac. He really is. I mean, I think he truly is trying to convince himself and the rest of the world that he is that. And yet he's losing his grasp on that every minute of the day. Because he, you know, I know, you know, he's crazy, he's old, he's out of his mind, but I know he follows the polls, and I know he knows what those polls are saying. He pretends that he isn't, that he, you know, that he's only seeing the good. People around him are saying, well, he's only seeing the good polls, so that's why he's saying it. No, he knows. I think that much he does know, and this is the legacy is starting to slip away from him. I think he's seeing now that all this stuff that he's doing, Iran is a cold water right in his face. That his great, you know, moment astride the world like a colossus is actually not true. That Venezuela was just a, you know, picayune little military operation and it meant nothing. Now he's in a real war with a real adversary, and he's losing it, and he can't figure out a way to get out of it. And I think as he's watching this legacy start to slip away, this, you know, even the ballroom this last week that, you know, the judge said you can't build it. I mean,
I think
even
the judge,
that,
I think he can go ahead now though, but
because of the commission saying that it's okay, or
something to that effect. Yes.
yeah.
Well, it's the only thing that's kept his attention, and so I do get a little bit of joy thinking about the heartbreak he might have felt.
I
When he
get a
got that
lot
initial-
of joy.
Yeah.
Are you kidding? I mean, I live for it. I mean, this is it. I mean, I'm like at a point where I'll take anything I can get just to, you know, whatever makes him unhappy. By the same token, though, when he is unhappy, he becomes even more unstable. I mean, you can see the last week, I really feel like the deterioration is really becoming just so blatant that even his own people are seeing it. And you're starting to see leaks coming out of the White House, like this article in Time magazine that came out today or yesterday, I guess, that they're talking about how Susie Wiles is telling people, hey, you know, probably need to bring him some more of the bad news. You know, it's not a good idea for him to just get the rosy scenarios about the war. And it says that Hegseth really was, you know, he was shaken to find out that Iran would actually retaliate against, you know, the Saudi Arabia and all the Mideast countries. And you're going, what in the what?
He
Are you
is such
kidding me?
an idiot. Like, truly, in a sea of idiots,
No,
he's number
He's one of the worst. Yeah, I mean, Colin Jost is actually, his impression of Hegseth is really too nice. I really think it's much too. He really pulls his punches, because when Hegseth speaks, I'm torn between laughing and crying at how idiotic it is that this man is actually in charge of the Pentagon, and he's spending his time firing, you know, women and black generals and people
He
who
just
are
fired. I mean, I think people should really understand this. He just fired the chief of staff of the Army because the chief of staff of the Army refused to take off the promotion list two black women who were in line to get one-star generals. Now, aside from, and we got some, let's just, we have some video on this. Aside from all this, here, put up the number 8. This was we've been tracking this for the past couple of days. Or I should say, yeah, put up number 6. This is from the New York Times from a couple of days ago. And Hegseth wanted to make sure these people were off the these 2 black and 2 female officers from the promotion list. I'm sorry. So it's actually 4 people. He in this piece, it says that, I think if you scroll down, it says somewhere around there, Hegseth had told Army leaders that the president wouldn't want to be standing next to female or black generals. And so, therefore we can't have any because you don't want them to get stuck in the same place together.
And Hegseth is just like the most qualified guy ever.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah.
coming from being a defender of war crimes and lobbying to get these war criminals pardoned successfully under Trump, to being also a Fox News host, and now he's the head of the Pentagon, so he should be telling everybody else that they're unqualified.
But here's the amazing thing. We just fired the chief of staff of the Army when we are in the middle of
a war.
I mean, this isn't a small skirmish. This is a big war. And I don't know, Brian served,
Yes, sir.
is a vet. Brian, I know you're not you're not an expert, but would you say
Audie Murphy over here.
Yeah, would you say the chief of staff of the Army is an important role in the middle of a war?
I believe that role would be described as critical.
Critical. And you've just
That's the
fired that
technical
person
term, yeah.
because you didn't like the promotion list that he wouldn't intervene with. I mean, aside from him probably saying like, "Hey, dude, I'm in the middle of a war. I don't have time to deal with this." I mean, this is amazing. It is insane. But I guess if, as long as we're not woke, the Iranians will be like, you got us. We were going to mock you for being so soft. Like, where's your pink uniforms? But now.
Well, maybe this is what will do the trick, is making sure that anybody that tries to promote women or black people within the Army, like, that will unleash the strongest military that country, the world has ever seen, and finally will win this war.
Of course, they will all be basing their image on Donald Trump, their great commander-in-chief, the man who wears more makeup and hairspray than RuPaul. I mean, this is a guy that they all need to emulate. And that Pete, he looks pretty. He wears, his makeup is perfection. Let's just put it that way. He really, really looks good on camera. He's got a whole makeup room set up in the Pentagon just to take care of it. So, yeah. From the liver damage. Yeah. Exactly. I mean, this is the insanity of it. I mean, you have these guys going on social media doing pull-ups and showing off their muscles and it's like a cartoon show. What are you talking about? I mean, it's absolutely beyond belief that we have. I mean, look at the propaganda that they're putting out about the Iran war, that the Pentagon is putting out, and it's like, what are we talking about here? This is actual humans. I mean, do we have any idea how many people have died in this thing?
Well, that is
what's the death toll?
We don't know. I mean, in Iran, it's thousands, but in U.S. troop deaths, Sam headlined this, but there was an F-15 that was shot down, it appears, and
Iran's actually saying there are two that have been shot down. But
we have one that's confirmed, although the administration continues to deny it to the press. Jeremy Scahill had this, of course, hours ago, but now CNN's even reporting it. And there are conflicting reports about whether or not the pilots evacuated. If they evacuate and they land in Iran, they could potentially be hostages, or they could be killed. And there was a report from The Intercept 2 days ago that Nick Turse kind of crunched some of these numbers and found that the Pentagon's numbers are not reflecting really what the true death and injury toll is. We don't know, but they were trickling out the deaths when the war started. I wonder how much information they're withholding right now, because Trump keeps saying 2 to 3 weeks. Like, they feel they have this limited window, but it's just going to continue to escalate as things have gone.
Of course. And by the way, if Iran does capture these pilots, which is a fairly good chance that could happen, that seems to be the big story this morning of what's happened to the pilots. They found the ejection seat. I guess there's actual footage of that. So it appears that they did eject from the plane. And I have to wonder, if they capture them, Donald Trump is known to be saying that he doesn't like people who've been captured. He he prefers that they not be captured. You may recall he was talking about John McCain at the time, a prisoner of war, So who knows what he will do there? And that's another, that's a very, it's a very useful bit of leverage that the Iranians will have if they capture a couple of fighter pilots. And this is how wars escalate. This is, if these people, I mean, one of the most shocking things about this is the total lack of historical knowledge among these people. I mean, Trump and Hegseth and the rest of them. It's like, I mean, I'm no military scholar, but I've been around long enough to have read about, and lived through several wars. And it's like, this is ridiculous. The ideas that these people have of just, I mean, it's like, again, we're living with people who are like cartoons. And
part of the problem is that the American public has no sense of history. Although I have to say, the American public, it's sort of hard to assess because the Trump administration has spent exactly not 60 seconds on trying to sell this war. The Iraq war, the Bush administration had 9/11, and it still took them like 2 years to get to the point where they could sell it. And there was machinations. In this instance, Trump has just done it. And the war is already as unpopular as the Iraq war ever was.
Yeah. At the end, I mean, at the worst moment.
At the worst
where
part
we're
of
at,
it, indeed. And so I want to give the American public credit, but I don't want to give them too much credit because, there was no effort even to try and sell them on this. And they're just like, what's going on? And now, but I want to turn from this. I have a feeling we're going to be sadly talking about this Iran excursion for a very, very long time. I mean,
he meant incursion, but he's just stupid to know that, I mean,
I call it a little excursion, like a little distraction.
As long as I don't call it a war, then I can't get in trouble.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though I say war 50 times a day.
Yeah,
and even though in his speech he kept listing the length of World War I, World War II, and like all these other wars, Vietnam, and said, but our military operation is only lasting this amount. It's like, then what was the point of comparing it to the other wars if it's not a war?
Yeah, it's just so stupid.
I do want to.
My brain hurts.
You wrote about Viktor Orban, this, and with everything going on, it's hard maybe for people to understand why this is important and why. But then you see the way that Dave Rubin is not an important figure, but it's quite clear. And Rob Schneider, outside of being a comedy legend, I mean,
why hasn't he gotten the Mark Twain Prize? Come on,
American Gigolo or what was it? What was it called?
Deuce Bigelow, male gigolo.
Oh, Deuce Bigelow, jail, whatever. I mean, all of it. Just it was just
jail Megalo.
These are of course iconic American figures, but J.D. Vance, we have a war going on. The outside of the Democrats are, whatever it was, 55% of Democrats think Democrats are crappy, but they're still crushing it in special elections, which is indicative of the fact that we have a two-party system.
Right. We have no choice. I mean, if we did, maybe it'd be different.
Horrible as the Democrats as a party are, the Republicans are worse. You would think the vice president, right? The presumptive nominee. I mean, if there is going to be one, in 2028, the presumptive Republican nominee, at least he would be the presumptive forerunner, would be out there trying to shore up the base going into the midterms. And now he is being sent to Hungary to campaign for Orban. What the F?
Well, I think there are two things going on with that. I wrote about this, and I've been writing about this Orban phenomenon for a couple of years now, as we've seen the right wing, the sort of quote intelligentsia of the right wing, if such a thing actually exists, they have really glommed onto Viktor Orban and his program. And this is part of the Project 2025 thing, and it's part of the Heritage Foundation, and this sort of group of conservative, erstwhile conservative intellectuals deciding that this program was going to work in the United States, which is a joke. But Viktor Orban came in. He also, he follows Trump's trajectory in the sense that he was elected, he failed, he lost his next election. Then he was more or less a little bit normal in the first one, or more normal than he is now. He came back, he came roaring back on an immigration platform, and won, and he's subsequently been reelected numerous times under very dubious circumstances with the kind of election manipulation that they're attempting to do here in the United States. And his part of his program was taking over these institutions within their culture. They called it sort of a soft fascism, which is just, that it wasn't really military guys in the streets or, jackbooted thugs or that sort of thing. It was much more of this institutional takeover of the universities, particularly the media, where he put cronies in charge of the media, and censored in academia anybody who didn't agree with them, that sort of thing, which we're seeing Donald Trump do. I mean,
Yep.
this in his second term, it's just following it, bit by bit. Now, Hungary doesn't really have a military to speak of, and they have a very close affiliation with Russia, which they're very dependent on Russian energy and Russian oil. So this idea that these conservatives they are really bought in on Hungary's program. Rod Dreher, he went over there, he lived there, he moved to Budapest so he could be part of it and feel the beauty of the Orban, policies. I mean, it was so great. The streets are clean. Tucker Carlson went over there and walked the streets of Budapest going, look how beautiful it is. We could have this if only,
You can strong your testicles there.
Exactly.
They get
It's perfect.
enhance
It's
your
beautiful.
manhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they are really bought into this. The problem is, and here's the issue, and part of it was the immigration thing too, because Hungary didn't really have an immigration problem. This was part of the weird thing. He ginned that up. It was all about immigrate. They're coming here to kill you in your beds. They're going to rape your women. They're, all these. And it was during the Syrian, war that was going, a civil war, and there were a lot of Syrian refugees. And of course, he was doing that. And Hungary really wasn't part of that, but he used it to his own advantage in his elections and basically scared the hell out of people. And that's what happened. Doing it again in this election, only it's the Ukrainians who are the evil ones who are coming to kill you in your beds and rape the women and all that. And it's like this time, the public in Ukraine, the public in Hungary is going, really? The Ukrainians are coming to kill us. Okay, great. And there's an actual opposition party there. He's a former member of Orban's party, the Fidesz, and he is running. His name is Peter Magyar, and he's running as sort of a, he gloms onto some of the culture war stuff. They're very culture war oriented, anti-LGBTQ, all of that kind of stuff, anti-feminist. They've got, they're giving money to women to stay home and have as many babies as possible, the usual garbage. And Magyar hasn't really rejected all that stuff, but he has totally rejected the economic program, and Hungary is in deep shit economically. And so this is happening. It's possible that Orban, I think the election is on the 12th of this month, so it's right around the corner, and they're sending in the big guns. Rob Schneider went over there to help them out. I mean, they're not holding back. And of course, then we've got JD, who's going over to actually stump with Orban. That's how desperate these conservatives are to save his presidency, because, or his administration, and get him elected again. Because if he loses, it's kind of just it's a complete repudiation of their whole program as well. And Magyar has been polling ahead the whole last year, and he's way ahead right now. And there's a good chance that he's going to win if they have a free and fair election, which, as we well know, is always up for grabs with these people. So that's where we are. And it's a very interesting thing. I hope everybody watches it, because this is their model. This is their model.
2 weeks away, less, the election. Yeah. I mean, it is weird. I think it's hard to people appreciate like what a model this becomes, and it changes the narrative. Like, oh, this can't survive this type of, a rule. I mean, it's also interesting too, where you take a look at it and you really get a sense of what authoritarianism is Without like, I think for many years, people have felt like, troops, at every corner and, the Stasi and this and that. But you can have this type of authoritarianism and it may ultimately lead there. I mean, frankly,
Look at us.
Just Trump. I mean, aside from like intimidation of universities, forcing what is it, Stanford or somewhere to give us a list of all the Jews there.
I think it's Harvard,
Penn.
isn't it?
Harvard, rather. Sorry,
Yeah.
Penn.
Oh.
Penn, exactly.
Penn.
But also all the harassment of the law firms. But even something like paying the TSA, right? Like, if you can justify doing this without our system, first of all, everybody's going to have those expectations in the future. Could you also not pay people? Like, if you have the right to pay people and it's not been congressionally authorized, why wouldn't you have the right to not pay people, despite the fact that that's not been congressionally authorized?
Well, I think they've been testing that from the minute they came in with Doge and all of the stuff that they've been doing. They've been testing the waters. Here's one difference, though. I had thought, and I think everybody thought, that what Orban was modeling was a new, like I called it, soft fascism, which is just, it's this soft authoritarianism with all the things that Trump has done, with the intimidation factor, going to the law firms, and saying, hey, we're gonna remove your ability to deal with the government and intimidated all these, so-called, legal heroes, and they all agreed to it, and then they're going to give him free pro bono work, that kind of thing. That's the Orban program. It's intimidation, but it's not violent, right? It's just this sort of bullying that we're going to take away your privileges if you don't do it. And all these elites are going, well, gee, don't do that. I mean, then we're really screwed. But Trump actually went a step further because he's got a guy named Stephen Miller who is not an Orban guy. Stephen Miller is not that.
Bannon is. But Bannon
is, and Miller isn't. And Miller, he put him in charge of this immigration program, which was huge. And they put the thugs on the street. They went ahead and did that hardcore violent thing. And that was actually going way further than Orban. And that's also one of the things that has been instrumental in turning the tide in public opinion.
Yeah.
And when people started to see that here, I mean, that is Stasi stuff, right? I mean, that's what we're looking at. And you're seeing, and the surveillance, the facial recognition and all that kind of stuff. That's very Stasi Big Brother. That's Stephen Miller. Miller and Bannon, and Skid, you pointed out Bannon because he's a good example of this, because Bannon's been over in Europe for years, since the first Trump term, trying to put together this alliance of the right wingers and all that stuff, and very much into the whole Orban program and trying to get this stuff together. Yeah, he was not for any of that. You want to keep it, you're supposed to keep it subtle. You're supposed to keep it, well, not subtle, but you're supposed to keep it nonviolent, because that's not the modern way. They're supposed to be smoother than that. You're not supposed to do this so that people are where you start shooting citizens in the street. That just wasn't really part of the program. Miller, no, it is part of the program. His program is to absolutely dominate, intimidate, and essentially unleash violence on his political enemies. But that is not what Orban was supposed to do.
Yeah, sorry, Heather, go on.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's just to zero in on the difference then between, like, Miller keeps winning and Bannon keeps losing.
Exactly.
And I just want to keep pointing that out, because as Trump says he's the America First guy, we played the clip of him saying, we don't have money for healthcare and childcare because of wars. It's the exact opposite of what he said his agenda was, which would have been more in the Bannon style. Like this whole like militarism, that the violence is Stephen Miller. And JD Vance, if he really thinks he can turn back the clock and be the America First guy with Orban and Bannon and the organized right in Europe, good effing luck, dude. You are tied to this war. You are tied to these tactics. Don't it's going to be interesting to see how he tries to cozy up to that part of MAGA that continuously loses within the administration.
Yeah. And I mean, this is going to be fascinating to watch, terrifying, but fascinating, because you've got him and he's trying to continue to lean into that faction without rejecting Donald Trump. I mean, that's a very, very, very high wire to be walking on. And then you got Rubio over here, his chief rival, who's just all in as hawkish as he can possibly get. I mean, the guy is, he's always been a hawk. It's nothing no surprise there. But he's just gone full on with the program, even on the immigration stuff. I mean, he's hardcore anti-immigrant now, and he's the son of immigrant. I mean, he's a product of the birthright citizenship. His parents were not citizens when he was born. As same is true of Don Jr., Eric, Ivanka, and Barron, all of whom their mothers were not citizens when they were born either. But I mean, this is a big this is where the rivalry is, and we're going to see that play out. And I'm sort of, not to get into the sort of campaign politics, but I do think that that's where that campaign is going to take place. And I suspect that it's not going to be either one of those guys that will end up winning the nomination. It's going to have to be somebody who's outside of this, because this particular argument within the Republican coalition is going to destroy both of them.
Tucker
There'll be
Carlson.
somebody else.
One can certainly
Hey,
hope.
wouldn't be surprised. I wrote a piece, I remember, like 5 years ago that it said, I think Tucker Carlson's going to run for president at some point. It sure seemed to me like that's where we're headed. God help us. Yeah, jeez.
Well, on that note,
yeah, hey, have a nice weekend, guys. Yeah.
Heather Parton, proprietor of the Uber blog Hullabaloo. We'll put a link to that, and of course, we'll link to your
Thank
pieces
you.
in salon.com. Heather,
appreciate
always a pleasure.
Yes, it
we'll
was
see you
fun
again in
as
a couple
usual.
weeks.
All right, take care. Stay
All right.
safe, everybody.
Thanks, Heather.
All right.
All right, folks. That ends the free half of the program. We will now head into the fun half of the program. You can join us there by becoming a member. Join themajorityreport.com. When you do, you not only get the free show free of commercials, but you also get the fun half. You get to I am us. Maybe we'll take calls today. I don't know. Ain't nothing gonna break my stride.
Oh my God.
Ain't nothing gonna slow me down. In the fun half today, I'm going to have a tough conversation
Jump scare.
with really every member of the staff because I have certain
Got to think of the next
expectations,
phase.
and some people need to move into the next phase. So
I don't care what people think.
oh my God, I'm so mad at you guys for doing that clip yesterday. I'm so mad. Ain't nothing gonna break my stride. Ain't nothing gonna slow me down. Oh my God.
It's also like, I've
Can you
never heard
imagine being
someone sing.
reduced to saying that on
I know. I've never heard someone sound desperate while singing.
I'm working on sunshine.
Yeah. It's like somebody put a gun to his head and said,
What are you
"Sing,
talking
about?
Adam.
Yes, yes.
Sing."
My future's so bright. I gotta wear shades. What are you talking about? Everything's fine.
It's like they have his family hostage.
Hakuna Matata.
Oh my God. Oh my God. All right. Don't forget, you can become a member, join themajorityreport.com. Also, justcoffee.coop, fair trade coffee, hot chocolate. Use the coupon code majority, get 10% off. You can even get the majority blend. So come on. Matt.
Yeah, my Instagram is rapidly approaching the coveted, as of like last week when I found out that I meant something, 10,000 follower mark, which
Why, what
officially
happens
makes
at 10,000?
He can post links.
You can post links, and you can call yourself a micro influencer.
Is
which
that
I'm really
right?
excited about. Yeah. So, folks, that and also the thing I should actually promote is a new Jacobin show talking about Brazil with Andres Pagliarini, I think is how you pronounce his name. Great conversation about Lula. He's got one more term, and then there's a new for an open horizon for the left and how they're going to navigate that as they try to figure out what comes after that. So a great conversation with a lot of relevance to a left that is growing in America too. So check that out at 3:00 Eastern time, right after the show today.
Hey, I just found out that I have 8,500 followers. So I got to get to 10,000 so I can start doing that other stuff too. That's been part of the reason why I've never posted is because I
What,
didn't
so you
have
can't
that
share
other.
links?
Yeah.
To what?
You're going to have to show me. Basically, I just spend my time watching that kid whose dad teaches him to play baseball. The kid's amazing.
Oh, yeah,
He's like
that
7
is-
years old. Not even. He's like 5.
Kid has a cannon. Can switch hit. It's
He
unreal.
can switch
What
hit.
kid?
His
I have no
dad,
idea what they're talking
Super
about.
viral
his
child
dad
is phenomenal
throws.
at
His
baseball.
dad will throw like 3 balls at him, small ones, different colors, and he'll yell out a color, and the kid will hit that ball.
Oh, so he's like a prodigy?
Yes.
It's
prodigy.
amazing, and the whole thing is like basically designed to impress you with his kid and make you feel like you're a bad dad. And
These
it's
videos have infiltrated like 5 group chats of mine.
It's
The
amazing.
boys are excited about this kid.
Were you about to say the boys are buzzing?
somebody unfollowed me
Okay,
because
sorry.
I
Not
never
even
post
close.
anything. That's absurd. Why would you unfollow because I don't post anything? It doesn't cost me anything. That's stupid. If I get to 10,000 people, I'm going to post my first post, or I think it's the second post. I don't know. I shared a post, or
You've got like one post with like Molly Jong Fast or something. I think that's the
yeah,
only
because she
one.
sent it, and I just kept hitting all the buttons, and then
I mean, this
something
is
showed
so
up.
fascinating. We should keep going.
See you in the fun half.